Hi friends, I grabbed two dogs as they were walking past. You guys can be free now. Just thought we'd say hi. I'm here to do my September wrap up. So I've got a big pile of books here to show you. I read 2, 4, 6, 8 books this month. So I'll talk to you about all of these. First, a little life update. I've been gone. Sorry, they're fighting. Stop that. I've been gone for about 2 weeks off here. I haven't uploaded. I've still been on Instagram the whole time, so if you want, I'll link that down below if you want to come talk to me. But I got married. I finished uni. I still have 3 assignments, but that's okay. And also, as you can see from my shelves, I've been packing because we're moving in a week and a half. So I will be in a new house. The new house is so bright and beautiful. It'll probably have the most amazing filming locations. But yeah, anyway, I'm sure you're not here for my life update. I'm sure you're here to hear what I thought about all these books. So they're not in order, but I'll just pick one up and talk to you about it. So I read Maggie Stiefwater's The Raven Boys this month. I was going to participate in the Raven Cycle read-along that Books and Lala and a whole bunch of hosts were doing. I'm sure you heard of it. Everyone on BookTube was participating in it this month. I bought the second book, but I didn't get to read it. I did really enjoy this though. It was very I watched everyone's autumn appreciation posts come through for anyone in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm obviously going into spring, but it's been very cold. So I still felt autumny and it was perfect. It was witchy. It was everything I wanted. So I feel like this is a really good, I think it's YA. I assume it's YA. I feel like this is a really good YA book. I don't normally enjoy them, so this one made me really happy to read. It has witches in it. There's particularly one aunt, Persephone, who cracked me up because she was just so creepy. So yeah, anyway, I'm sure you know about the Raven Boys. I'm sure you know about the Raven Cycle. I recommend it if you're into like an autumny spooky read. This one would be really good. And I didn't see all the plot twists coming, but I did predict a few of them, so... Next, the kind people at Allen and Unwin sent me Celestial Bodies by Joka Alarathi. I loved this book. What was so special about this book was the lives of the people in here. We follow like a family that everyone's related and everyone's linked. I want to say like the women, but I also found the dad, there was a male perspective in here that was amazing, that I really appreciated. Their lives in here are so different. Like, these people are so different to me. Their cultures and beliefs are so different, yet exactly the same. Like, I feel like this was a great exercise in empathy. If anybody you know in your life doesn't have much empathy for other people, I think this would be really good, because it's nice to be reminded that although our customs and our cultures and our beliefs and everything is a bit is different, it's all exactly the same. We all have the same feelings, the same emotions, the same fears, everything. It's all it's a human experience that we're all going through, and I think this book really hit that home for me. I really, really enjoyed it. It won the Man Booker International Prize, and I also want to tell you that it was translated by Marilyn Booth, and I feel like Marilyn Booth does a lot of translations or writes books. Comment down below if you know that, but I feel like I've heard her name quite a bit. But yeah, I highly recommend Celestial Bodies. I gave this one 5 stars. It was fantastic. Yeah, it was just so good. And I learnt about a new country. They're in Oman, and I know that sounds silly, but I looked up Oman and I was looking up the maps and I was reading a bit about the history and stuff, and really this book is a conversation about the country and how it changes over a couple of decades. But yeah, really appreciated this book. Thank you, Allen and Unwin, for sending that one my way. Also this month I got sent The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This was sent to me by Hachette. I really enjoyed this book too. I saw a lot of mixed reviews about it whilst I was reading it. But I loved it. I thought that the pacing was great. The story was amazing. The writing was fantastic. I did listen to this on audiobook whilst reading the book, so I don't know if that changed my experience of it, but I do that with a lot of books. So I feel like I enjoy books a lot more that way. Yeah, you get the the physically reading along as someone's narrating it to you. I just really enjoy doing that. So if I can find an audiobook of a physical book I've got, especially on Scribd or on my library app, I always do it. But The 10,000 Doors of January was fantastic. So this is about a girl who it's about doors to other worlds. So there are doors and they open up to all these other worlds, and one day January finds a book and it's called The 10,000 Doors, and as she's reading it, we're reading it. And at the start, it's really interesting because you get like her perspective, then this book's perspective, and the book almost reads like a non-fiction book. So I don't know, I felt like I was getting two books in one, and then the books converge together, and it's really interesting how they interrelate. I really liked it. I predicted a lot of it, not a lot was shocking, but I still really, really enjoyed this book. So I think I gave it 4.5 stars. So yep, really good. I only knocked off 5 stars. I think I've spoken about this before, but I only knocked off 0.5 of a star just because there was a few teething issues in terms of how it was written, like the plot points and things. But I feel like with a debut novel, most of the time you're going to get that. And this was a fantastic debut regardless of all of those things. So yeah, I will pick up Alex E. Harrow's books in the future too. And I've noticed this is being marketed as YA, like it's in a YA subscription box, but this is adult, I believe, from reading it. I mean, I don't know if these classifications mean anything anyway, but yeah, I think it's adult. Next, I read The Secrets We Kept by Lara Prescott. Now, this is a contender for my book of the month, and I can't decide between this and one other book that I'll show you, but I loved this book. So this is a book about espionage. It's about 2 women are the main characters, and one of them is this is set in the Cold War. Sorry, I should say this is set in the Cold War. And one of them is the mistress of Boris Pasternak. Boris Pasternak, who wrote Dr. Zhivago. And this book is based around Dr. Zhivago being banned in Russia and the USA trying to get the book to the Russian people. That's essentially what this story is about. One character is the mistress, her story was amazing, and then one character is a Russian who lives in America, and she becomes a spy, and it's amazing. I highly recommend this book. This was sent to me by Penguin Random House, Penguin Books Australia. Anyway, the next book I read, which I've already spoken about as well, is Stephen King's Firestarter. I purchased this myself. I really enjoyed this book, but I read it because the Institute, which I also purchased myself, obviously, came out this month, and they're very similar, but this is better. And I know that's weird to say because usually like your 80s king or 90s king is better because he was on drugs and he was writing and everyone loves it, but this was fantastic. Like, I've spoken about this, so I'll put this down, but I gave it 4 stars. The Institute was fantastic. It was just a great story. Not scary. Nothing scary. Not even remotely scary in here. This is just a brilliant story about some kids with psychic powers and what happens when they're put into an institute. There's some great king bad characters. There's a little bit of fluff, but I love that with Stephen King, so I love it. I ate it up. I loved it. Read this book in like 2 days. Highly recommend. Even if you don't read Stephen King, I think you really enjoy this because it's not a scary book, it's just a great book. So, like The Outsider, I think I packed it. The Outsider, which came out last year, I think that's a very Stephen King fan-specific book because it's scary and it's got repeat characters. This doesn't... I couldn't spot a lot of Easter eggs in this. And it... Yeah, I just think that people who don't read Stephen King would enjoy this too. So, if you like kids with psychic powers, pick up The Institute. Then Scribe Publishing kindly sent me Madame Foucault's Secret War. This book was so good. I would put this as my favourite book of the month, but the only thing that's stopping me, because I gave this 5 stars, is that it took me so long to read, but that always happens with non-fiction. It always takes me a while to get through them. But this is about Madame Foucault, who... Madeleine Marie Foucault, I think that's her name. Yeah, and she was the leader of a alliance system in France against the Nazis, and she was in close contact with MI6 in Britain, and it's fantastic. Like, I can't believe that I didn't know about this woman. I had no idea that she existed. She's amazing. Some of this is unbelievable nonfiction. Like, I could not believe that this actually happened. And also, I learnt so much about the French occupation in like the Nazi occupation in France. And that's a topic I know fairly well. I teach it in schools, and I loved this book. So highly, highly recommend this. Lynn Olson is a fantastic writer. I listened to the audiobook for the last half of this whilst reading it as well. So I really enjoyed that too. I loved the physical book though, because there's pictures of, I wonder if I can find one. Like there's pictures of all the people, there's maps in here, there's a big list of who is in the book and why. Like there's a lot of characters, so it's very character dense and heavy. So I would recommend the physical book over the audiobook. But I did enjoy listening to both. Listening and reading at the same time. And then finally, the other contender for my book of the month, which is so cliche, is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. I finished this on Saturday night. I loved this book. This was so good. And I was lucky enough to snag up the audiobook on my library app before anyone else. So I got to read and listen at the same time, which, as you've heard throughout this, is my favourite. I know, sorry. This was good. This was so good. It was everything I wanted it to be. It answered all my questions that I had from The Handmaid's Tale. I don't know, I really liked it. I loved... So we start, the very first chapter is one of the perspectives, and you're getting 3 perspectives. And the very first chapter is this perspective of Aunt Lydia, and I loved her parts the best. I just love this story. I thought it was fantastic, and I know it's very divisive and very overrated and very hyped, but I loved it. And I purchased this myself, by the way. Obviously, no one would send me the Testaments, but yeah, I loved this book. So that's my wrap up. Thank you so much for watching. Me and Charlie here are going to go hug now because he's been harassing me this whole video, and I will speak to you guys. Maybe I'll just film a TBR now for you so that I can pack up these books. So look for that later this week. Okay, bye. You're so silly. You're a silly